The Ready for a Relationship podcast helps people just like you who find themselves single and alone in their later years get unstuck and break the pattern to move forward and build the loving relationship you expected to have at this point in your life. Discover how to build your relationship with confidence in a fun, easy, loving way so that you are the right person for your right person. And if you enjoy the show and want to share some love, subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment. It all really helps. Here's Suzanne, the host of your show.
Hello, everyone. Suzanne here. Welcome to another easy, fun, loving podcast. If you have experienced a breakup or you're divorced and you're struggling to find yourself and struggling to find that new relationship that you know you should have, this is the right place for you. And I have a special guest once again, Shawn. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, everybody.
Shawn is one of the first coaches you get to talk to if you book a call. And I've asked Shawn to come on the podcast because he has a lot of insight into challenges and things that are going on in your life. So, Shawn, my first question to you is, what would you say are the top challenges that people give you for not being able to find that good relationship?
Well, okay, they got to get to that point, right? Because we're talking to a lot of single folks that, just to be clear, they may have had a breakup, but it's been enough time that they're now thinking they would like to have a relationship again, and that's the key point. They were in a relationship and they had a long-term relationship and they want to have it again, and so many times, when you talk to those folks, there's so much doubt that they're carrying with them. They think they're not good enough, or they're too tall, or too short, or too fat, or too not attractive enough, or I'll never be good enough, or nobody out there wants me, and they have fear of being alone, and so they're dealing with a lot of fear of loneliness, and even they say they go on a date, and the date, it worked out the same as the last one, and then it worked out the same as the last one. They find themselves in a circle. They don't know why they keep getting the same results when they're dating, and they've been out of it for so long. They really don't know. They don't know why or how to break the cycle. And, it's all that doubt becomes self-doubt that's self-fulfilling, because now they're carrying that doubt. Oh, I'm too old. So, they might even get a date, but I'm too old. And they're thinking already before they go into date, they're already too old. So I don't know, Suzanne, we could make a list and there'd be dozens of things like that people are facing all the time, right? And I see it every day when I'm on calls with people, and it's always the same kind of thing. Like, I'm not good enough. There's nobody out there for me. I'm who would want me, and I'm not healthy, so nobody wants to be with me, and all kinds of things. Terrible.
Wow, you really are immersed in this. Okay, I got to say two things, okay?
Okay,
two things. One of the reasons I want to do these podcasts is for people to realize they're not alone. A lot of times we get these negative feelings. We get this doubt, and we think it's just me. I have to go through this all alone. It is not the case. As you can hear from Shawn in his quite graphic representation of what's going on in people's minds, you are not alone. And the second thing I want to point out to everybody is that it can change. Believe it or not, we're going to talk about that today, how you can have that change for you. Does that sound good? Okay.
Yeah, and people have to they have to know that it can change, because if they don't, then they just keep in that circle, right?
Well, that's just it. Let's talk about the possibility of change. All right. So, in so doing, because we've only got like about 20, 25 minutes, Shawn, let's start with one. We'll get to one, maybe two, and let's disperse this and help people come to grips with these challenges. Pick one for us, please.
One of the main challenges, you mean?
Exactly.
Okay. I think so often there's no one out there for me. There's already a belief running in their mind. There's no one out there for me. And let's face it, when somebody's been looking for a relationship for a year or 2 years or 3 years, or sometimes more than that, it's super sad. And they haven't found the right person, they start to think there's no one out there for me. But
I hear it too. And I think we can all understand how it happens.
mm-hmm.
And when a story keeps repeating, it starts to become a belief. And a thought a lot, becomes a belief. A belief is simply a thought that you've thought a lot. Okay? Doesn't necessarily make it true. So, what I'm going to ask everybody here is, are you willing to open the door to a change in thinking? Because if you've decided that this belief, for instance, there's no one out there for me, if you've decided that nope, you know what, there's no way that there could be any possible out from this belief, this is me, then I'm going to say, thank you very much for joining us at this point. You can go on to something else. But if you are open to the fact that, you know what, maybe I could change that up, I invite you to stay. Okay?
Willingness to change.
Right. It's opening the door. All right. So if you think, just because I've been thinking this, maybe Suzanne and Shawn can help me a little bit with a different belief, a slightly different change. We're not looking for drastic. We're just going to do something gentle here. And I have 4 things that I want to point out to everybody that are basic with all of these assumptions that don't serve us. The first one is, and take note here, if you're not driving, if you can write things down, take note. The first thing I want to say is the past does not have to equal the future.
Wow. And that's so true, right?
In so many ways. So first of all, right, the past does not have to equal my future. We can create a new story. Okay.
Right.
The second thing I would invite everyone who has this belief to look at is to say, is this really true? Is it true for everyone? Or am I feeling it's just true for me?
Oh, that's so powerful that you say that. I sometimes coach people a little bit on a call when I get them like that, because they'll say to me stuff like that. Well, there's no one out there for me. And my first thing, gently, of course, because they're hurting, right? Gently, is ask yourself, is that really true? And let them think about it for a minute, because we talked about truth before. Truth is gravity. It works for everybody. But if you can look around and see other people are having nice relationships and other people are couples and other people, then, maybe you can just crack the door open a little bit, that maybe there's a possibility and maybe it's not really the truth.
Right. And I also really want to point out here that sometimes when we've thought something a lot and we've lived by this reality for a while now, whether it's been months or years, we really are hesitant to give it up, because it's going to mean that the past that we went through, what if that was false? I don't want to admit that. I don't want to think that I was thinking the wrong thing. And what I want to encourage everybody here is, remember, the past doesn't matter. What you thought of in the past doesn't matter. If you're willing to say, maybe I can think about something in a new way, I can guarantee you'll get a new life.
Mm.
Okay. But let's look at, is it true? Is it true for everyone? Shawn, you have a statistic you shared with me, several statistics. Would you share them here, please?
Yes. And I think it's so powerful what you said is new thoughts will equal new results, right? And until we're willing to adopt new thoughts, can't possibly have new results. And here's a statistic that, I was talking to Suzanne earlier about this. And if you took just the people in the USA and just the people over 60 years old, there's more than 19 million, almost 20 million people over 60 that are single. And if half of those were looking for a relationship, that's like 10 million people. And quite frankly, you got to back that down to what about people over 50? That's probably 20 million people and beyond that, well, clearly there's 19 million in 60 and above. If you cut that in half, and then if you went down to 50, that's another 20 million people. So there's so many people, you can't even get your head around the numbers. And sadly, about half of the marriages end in divorce. And many of those people in those couples, for whatever reason, there was the divorce, whatever reason, there's no right or wrong about that, but they want to have a long-term relationship again. Many of those people. So there's 50% there, and there's 20 million over there. I mean, if you just put your head around those numbers a little bit, you realize that, it can't be that there, that there's no one out there for me, right?
Even if it feels that way.
Even if it feels that way, that's true. And always in the most gentle way to help people see those different perspectives, right?
Wow. Well, that's impressive because I often work in generalities, but that's real statistics. Anyone that's analytical that follows that kind of thing can say, maybe there is someone, which leads actually to point number 3 perfectly. Okay. So point number 1, the past doesn't have to equal our future. Point number 2, is it true? Point number 3 is, can we become open to the possibility that just because our past was a certain way, our future could be different? We could actually find that special someone this afternoon or tomorrow if we're open to the possibility.
Well, and that is so true, because when I talk to people that are, if the door is shut and there's no crack, there's no thought, there's no, well, maybe it could happen. If it's shut, then that person could be standing right in front of them in the lineup to get their Starbucks coffee, and they will never talk to them. And because they already closed the door of possibility.
Right. They've already made the decision. There's no one out there for me. So gently, everyone, please gently remember, there's no judgment. There's no beating ourselves up. That's not allowed. Please gently have a look and just think, is it possible that my own thought that there's no one out there for me has stopped me from seeing someone that could be there for me? I'm sorry, but it's better we look at this now than you go through a whole entire life of loneliness, right?
That's a whole nother podcast, Suzanne, because I can tell you some stories about that. People right in front. And anyway, go ahead.
Okay. But that's the point I wanted to make. Point number 3 is, can you be open to the possibility that just because it seems like in your past this was true, can you be open to the possibility that things could shift and be different and you could actually meet someone? Okay. Point number 4, it's that thought that we thought a lot is bound to keep repeating. Okay. I go through this with my clients all the time, but they say, I thought we covered how to get rid of that thought that didn't serve me. in this case, there's no one out there for me. Just because we come with a really nice, smart answer to rebut that statement doesn't mean that it doesn't keep coming back. So we have to keep repeating our new statement. Okay? So every time the thought comes in, see, there's no one out there for me, I would suggest that you try replacing it with, you know what? It's possible I could meet someone that is right for me. It's possible I could meet the perfect person. So every time you hear the little voice, there's no one out there for me, you say to your little monkey that's in your head that's saying all those negative thoughts, you say, thank you for sharing. I know you're trying to protect me from pain, right? The pain of relationships and dates that don't work out. Thank you for sharing. However, I have a new belief. And the new belief is, I'm open to possibilities. I'm not the same person. How about that?
Right. It's the point where you can at least be open to the possibility that will start the flow.
Okay. So we've covered a lot in a very short period of time on this particular belief. However, if you can start to just give yourself that possibility, I guarantee change is about to happen. How does that feel?
Right. You got to feel good about that, knowing that there's the possibility and living that daily.
Right. Right. And if actually living that change scares you, you better call me. Right? Because sometimes we're like, no. I just put my head under the covers. I'm not ready for that, really. That's another thing that happens. Society will say, let's discuss this now. Society will say, oh, you should be in a relationship. You should be with someone else. You shouldn't be alone. There's an expectation that comes from society, that comes from parents, that comes from well-meaning friends.
True.
And seriously, if you figure, you know what, I really like being alone, I'm really not ready for having someone else in my life, please let yourself feel that that's okay. All right, because sometimes the limiting beliefs are just a way of protecting ourselves and from other people and what, right? So if someone says you should be in a relationship, you can easily say, there's no one out there for me. There's no one good enough or whatever.
Huh. So secretly had another mission there. Something. Yeah, that's interesting. That's why you're the mindset coach.
Oh, the twisted mindsets we can have. It's just games that we play with ourselves, right? Okay. So I'm excited. Let's do one more. I think we've got time. What is a second belief that people have that's a challenge?
Let me think about that, because they're all a challenge. But I would think one of the biggest ones is I'm not good enough. Right. And in I'm not good enough, it encompasses so many things, right? I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too, and it goes on and on and on, which all equates to lack of confidence, right? Because all that thinking I'm not good enough will bring your confidence down. And then what happens?
Bingo. Everybody deals with I'm not good enough at some point in their life regarding some aspect of their life, right? It's 100% normal. The fact that it starts eating at us and making us feel less than we are, that's the sad part. That's what we have to address. So let's look at the same 4 statements that we said. In the first one, we said that the past doesn't have to equal our future. In this one, I'd say the past is messing up our future.
Yeah, no kidding. Right?
Okay. This is going to tie with point 1 and point 2. Is it true? right? But let's look at point 1 first. Who has ever looked at a baby and said they're not good enough? It's babies. We were babies once. We're all born good enough.
That's true.
We're all born beautiful. We're all born perfect. What happens is society and the things we're learning and the things we're hearing and the things from our well-meaning parents and our friends and our teachers starts getting layered upon us. We start comparing, we start competing. Hello, everybody. Are you recognizing this? And all of a sudden we're saying, I'm not good enough. I'm feeling not good enough. And if you take that in a specific area, take relationships. And if that's beaten down into you that you're feeling like you're not good enough, you're starting to feel like that's the truth. But let's go to number 2. Is it the truth? Of course it's not the truth. You were a baby once. You are good enough. You are perfect.
Right.
Yeah. So number 3 is opening the door to possibility. Okay. Here I would suggest you write down all the small areas where you feel like you are successful, that you do like yourself. And they end up being I am statements. So, Shawn, I'll let you add in here too, but I'll get us started. I am friendly. I am organized. I am fun. Right? What are the attributes that you like about yourself? What else could someone say?
Oh, I am sexy. I am strong. I am confident. I love to meet new people. I am outgoing. I'm fun to be with. Those, I love that, by the way, Suzanne. The I am statements, even just by me saying that to you right now, makes me feel stronger, makes me feel energized.
I can tell.
Sure. And if you can adopt that and use it like a tool where anytime you're feeling doubt or fear, you have a few really strong, maybe you just have 3 that you repeat as a little mantra for yourself, right? I am strong. I'm confident. I'm super sexy. I'm attractive. I am, right? And when you say them like that, it gives you your power and it changes your vibratory energy and it changes how you are. And a person can use that just before they meet their date, right? If you did that just before you meet your date and you energize yourself and cleanse that energy and let the energy be to the top, right? All of a sudden, you're going to come differently to that date.
Right. I am me. I am good enough. I can be loved for exactly who I am.
Exactly.
And there's one extra note I have to add in here because sometimes with clients, I cover things that they feel are negatives. Sometimes, let's take one example. Somebody was told that they were judgmental by several people. Okay. They were told they were judgmental. And you kind of think, judgmental is, well, that's not really a good thing. But let's turn that around. How about if you say, I am choosy? I'm choosy with who I want to spend my time with.
Much more empowering, right?
So even the negatives can be turned into positives. But that's how I look at life, right? That's why I do what I do.
But it's a perspective thing. I remember Bob Proctor used to teach that too. He said, anytime you have a challenge, choose a different perspective and look at it from that way. And so it's a very powerful tool as well.
Perfect. So number 4 is replace the thought. Okay, if you have any thought, and right now we're talking about I'm not good enough, right? Something is going to happen and you'll say to yourself, see, I'm not good enough. I would encourage everyone to begin replacing that thought that obviously does not serve you with a Thank you for sharing. That's a past story, right? The recognition, you have to take note that that's coming into your head. So the recognition, thank you for sharing. That's not my story anymore. That's not real. And replace that with either a solid I am statement or one that's a gentler bridge. I am getting better at. I am working on. Feel the power of that?
Mm-hmm. I'm getting better. Better is good, right? If you can every day say, I'm getting better, I'm getting better, and you cheer for yourself, I'm getting better, great.
I'm getting better. I'm learning. I'm being more friendly every day. I'm being more open every day. I'm opening myself to more possibilities every day. I am seeing more possibilities every day.
Right.
And thus we have more empowerment, I hope, for everyone on two very, very challenging beliefs that come into our lives. There's no one out there for me, and I'm not good enough.
There's no one out there for me, and I'm not good enough. Did you want to do just a really quick recap on the action steps they should take for those two?
Okay, action steps. Number 1, are you guys writing this down? Because this is going to come up, and I want you to be ready to give yourself the positive from here. So number 1, remembering the past doesn't have to equal the future. Number 2, asking yourself if it's really true for everyone, because if it's not, it means it can change for you. Number 3 is open the door to possibilities. And number 4 is be ready to change the thought. How do you change the thought that doesn't serve you into a thought that does serve you? And I guarantee, try it, life will start changing. And as you try this, if you have questions, please put a note in the comments. Always open for discussion. You can find more information on our website. It's readyforarelationship.com. We have access there to a masterclass, lots of free information, masterclass talking about how to clear up some of the past beliefs that we carry, some of that baggage, how to clear up the hurts that have happened in our past. We have a masterclass on that, totally free. We have Facebook pages that you can interact with us, other podcasts and blogs that have been written. So we're here to serve you. We want to make a difference. I hope that by listening to this podcast, you have realized, number 1, you're not alone. And number 2, you can have some support. Okay, so not alone in thinking these thoughts because many others think these thoughts, and not alone because you can reach out and have some support. And I hope that this has given you some wisdom, some inspiration, and most of all, some hope, because that perfect relationship is going to be out there for you. Thank you, Shawn, for joining us.
Perfect. I had fun. See you.
Okay, bye everybody.
Here we are at the end of the podcast, and you just got some Suzanne loving. If you got value out of this podcast and you want to spread some love too, subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment. And who was it that you were thinking about who could also be uplifted by it? Share it with them now. Catch you next time.